If you could see what I see, you'd be blinded by the colors, yellow, red, orange, and green, and at least a million others. So tie up the boat, take off your coat, and take a look around. Look, the sky is finally open, the rain and wind stop blowing, but you're stuck out in the same old storm again. Hold tight to your umbrella, darling, I'm just trying to tell you that there's always been a rainbow hanging over your head. Ooh, tie up the boat, take off your coat, and take a look around. Everything is alright now, 'cause the sky is finally open, the rain and wind stop blowing, but you're stuck out in the same old storm again. Let go of your umbrella, darling, I'm just trying to tell you that there's always been a rainbow hanging over your head. Yeah, there's always been a rainbow hanging over your head.
Thank you, ladies. Excellent. Beautiful song and a beautiful performance. All right, we'll be getting into our remarks portion of the agenda, and then that will be followed by the Teachers of the Year from each of our 7 buildings, including the South Huntington Teacher of the Year. And I'll turn it over now to Dr. Joseph Senamore, Deputy Superintendent, to say a few words, followed by some other dignitaries who will all speak briefly, and then we'll hear more from our building principals.
Thank you, Mr. Seafelder. How about another round of applause for all of our outstanding student musicians? What better way to start off a recognition of our teachers by having our students open up for them? This is one of my favorite events of the school year. We look forward to it, all of us, every year. So good evening, my name is Joe Sentinel. I have the honor and privilege of being the Deputy Superintendent of South Huntington. On behalf of our Board of Education, our Superintendent of Schools, Dr. D'Elia, and all of our administrative team, I'd like to welcome everyone to tonight's South Huntington Teacher of the Year ceremony. I'll begin with a few reflective quotes. Educator Todd Whitaker stated, "The best thing about being a teacher is that it matters. The hardest thing about being a teacher is that it matters every day." Just think about that for a second. It was author and historian Henry Brooks Adams who said, "A teacher affects eternity. They can never tell where their influence stops." A core pillar to our free and democratic society is our public education system. At its foundation are our teachers. The Teacher of the Year program is a proud tradition in South Huntington, and it's our annual opportunity to highlight our finest educators, those who have been identified by their respective schools as possessing exceptional instructional skills as well as a dedication to fostering the learning and growth of our students. Tonight, we will recognize and honor 7 such individuals. From this select group, a district-wide committee was assigned the unenviable task and challenge of distinguishing one South Huntington Teacher of the Year. I'd like to thank the committee members for their time and efforts, as well as Ms. Joanne Padilla and personnel for all her hard work in organizing this event, as well as Thomas Ciarvolo and Liz DeMonte for their work on photography and the digital presentation. Writer Judy Bloom stated, "Our fingerprints don't fade from the lives we touch." And touch the lives of thousands of students here in South Huntington, the 7 teachers being recognized tonight have. Their passion for their craft, their love for their students is truly inspirational. They have earned our community's deepest gratitude. Thank you, and congratulations to all of our honorees, their schools, and certainly their families. At this time, I'd like to welcome some guest dignitaries who would like to say a few words. If I can welcome to the podium our Suffolk County Legislator, Mr. Tom Donnelly.
So good evening, everybody. Just by way of a quick introduction, my name is Tom Donnelly. I'm one of the legislators that represent you here in the town of Huntington, and it's an honor and a privilege to be here on such a wonderful, wonderful evening for such a terrific event. Just wanted to kind of just reflect for a moment, kind of just sitting out there, watching the beautiful national anthem, watching the kids perform the chorus. We live right now in a very kind of challenging, polarizing time in our nation's history. I think we would all agree with that. But this right here, this is America. This is truly America, a community coming together to honor great, great educators who every day are on the front lines educating our young children, who are the future for tomorrow. There's nothing greater than that, I don't think. And I look back in my lifetime and the teachers who had such a profound impact on me, both educationally, as coaches. Mr. Senmore's dad was a coach of mine when I played football. And it's so, so important that we honor and recognize the teachers who are out there every day, who are inspiring, educating, uplifting, motivating the future of tomorrow. There's just nothing more special than that. I think it's almost chilling, to be quite frank. So thank you to the board, obviously, for inviting me. It's always a pleasure to come here to be with all of you, and certainly congratulations to all the honorees and their families. Thank you.
Thank you, Legislator Donnelly. Now I'd like to invite our state senator, Senator James Moran.
Thank you so much, and it is such an honor to be here. Our teachers have always been the foundation of our society, helping to lift our young kids up, and we heard such beautiful presentations before. I think if they're looking for people for the Super Bowl, I think we have our national anthem speaker in our halftime show. But they were terrific, and this is the product of parents, administrators, but especially right here, the teachers. And that's why it is so great that we get to honor several tonight. And I think we have to recognize, I think everyone does, that during this pandemic, we have a lot of essential workers that have saved us, men and women in law enforcement, people, running the trains and doing a lot of the everyday jobs that, are so important for our society. But our teachers have been challenged so much. They had to, all of a sudden, with the airplane flying in the sky, try to figure out how to move to remote when we had to go remote, and how to deal with all the anxiety and of the kids and everybody in dealing with this very difficult pandemic. And these kids have succeeded and will do great because the teachers of this district and the ones that we are honoring tonight went all out to make sure that despite all the challenges and all the difficulties, these young people continue to get the great quality education that they deserve and they're going to need. So I salute all of them and thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator Gorin. I know our New York State Assemblyman Steve Stern sends his heartfelt congratulations to all 7 honorees. He's currently in transit, and he's hoping to try to make an appearance, but if not, he sends his well wishes. At this time, I would like to introduce, and it gives me great pleasure to ask to join me at the podium, is the president of the South Huntington Teachers Association, Mr. Dennis Callahan.
Okay, thank you so much for giving me the chance to speak this evening at one of my favorite nights of the year, the Teacher of the Year celebration. This year, let's be honest, is a real accomplishment to be nominated for Teacher of the Year. Just managing to keep track of which students are in quarantine, which ones are coming back today. Oh, and goodness, what about masks? Are they mandatory today? Are they optional? Has the CDC changed its guidance today? Honestly, every teacher that works in this district should qualify simply for managing to navigate this year's educational landscape. So, following this train of thought, if all of the teachers are candidates for Teacher of the Year, this means that tonight's honorees are the superheroes of South Huntington. You see, in addition to navigating the COVID issues, these teachers have also managed to excel in the classroom. Tonight, you can look forward to school principals telling you tales of the amazing things that go on each day in their buildings. This year's honorees represent a wide diversity of the work done by teachers every day in the schools of South Huntington. You will hear about the amazing work that Dina Groh has done during her years of teaching kindergarten at Countrywood. You will hear how Jill Hewlett brings excitement and enthusiasm to the reading program at Birchwood. You will hear how Denise Ortiz inspires her 4th grade students at Maplewood. You will hear about Kelly Zissel's impressive work with her ELA classes at Silas. You will hear about the passion that Jennifer Honer brings to her English lessons at Stimson Middle School. You will hear about some of the wonderful work that goes on in Gina Tanucci's art classes at Walt Whitman High School. You will also hear how our District Teacher of the Year, Noreen Scalepi from Oakwood, has been inspiring South Huntington students for over 20 years as a speech and language teacher. While these individuals represent a wide array of disciplines, there are 2 things that they have in common: their love for their students and their dedication to the art of teaching. Noreen, so if your fellow nominees are superheroes, then you are truly Wonder Woman. I would like everyone in the audience to just take a moment and imagine Noreen's job. Imagine the skill needed to model and remediate a young child's speech patterns while both you and the child are wearing a mask. Honestly, Noreen, I would not be up to the challenge. As president of the Teachers Association, it is an honor to represent you. Jill, Dina, Denise, Kelly, Jennifer, Gina, Noreen, I congratulate you on your momentous accomplishment. It is simply humbling to be in your presence. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Callahan. And now it gives me great pleasure to introduce and ask to join me at the podium our Board of Education President, Mr. Nicholas Ciapetta.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight we recognize excellence in a profession that is one of our country's most cherished and valuable. And we are grateful after 2 long and difficult years to be able to celebrate once again in person. While last year's virtual ceremony was a necessity and successful, like everything else, there is no substitute for an in-person experience. The value of the teaching profession and the impact of an individual teacher has never been questioned, but it was highlighted and reinforced when our schools were shut down and education became virtual. The last 2 years have challenged us all in so many ways, but adversity, I believe, rather than normalcy, is what actually makes us grow and become that much stronger. The last 2 years have pushed us to make sure that our communication is clear and precise and timely, and to make sure that we are all technologically savvy. And as such, we may very well end up better educators because of this unprecedented experience. I often speak with such great pride for South Huntington, where I graduated many years ago, and often tell people, anyone who will listen, that I truly think that South Huntington is one of the finest districts in New York State. And the reason that I have such confidence is because I know how wonderful and caring and talented and intelligent each of our hundreds of teachers are. And so that's why tonight is such a special moment for me and for South Huntington, for the Board of Education. So on behalf of the entire Board of Education, I want to express my admiration and appreciation and extend congratulations to Dina Grow of Oakwood, Jill Hewlett of Birchwood, Denise Ortiz of Maplewood, Kelly Zissel of Silaswood, Jennifer Honer of Stimson Middle School, and Gina Tanucci of Walden High School. And of course, last but certainly not least, Noreen Scalepi, our Countrywood and District Teacher of the Year. Congratulations to all of you. I'd now like to introduce the Vice President of the Board of Education, Ms. Laura Carey, to make some remarks.
Good evening, everyone. Those of us who truly cherish public education believe that teaching is one of the most noble professions the world has ever known. In South Huntington, you see this profession practiced by the finest teachers each and every day. While we realize that many communities love their teachers, there is something exceptional about our faculty members who approach their work with a special passion. Each day we entrust our most prized possessions, our children, to some remarkable people. And tonight, we honor 7 representatives of that amazing team: Noreen Scalepi, Dina Grow, Jill Hewlett, Denise Ortiz, Kelly Zissel, Jennifer Honer, and Gina Tanucci. They represent the very best of the best, and their work speaks volumes about the 550 incredible educators we proudly wear the maroon and white. Of course, one of the greatest trademarks of excellence is humility, and our 2022 Teachers of the Year would be the first to credit their colleagues for their collective success. Although there is no denying that we have the most amazing faculty in the region, there is also something unique about this year's winners. These honorees reflect beautifully on their fellow educators, their family, and our school district. We both thank and congratulate them on a job incredibly well done. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Carey, and thank you, Mr. Ciapetta. All right, so now at this time, we're going to begin introducing our Teachers of the Year. Could I please welcome to the podium, from Oakwood Primary Center, Principal Dr. McCallion, and their Teacher of the Year, Ms. Dina Grow.
Good evening, Dr. D'Elia, Mr. Ciapetta, Board of Education, Cabinet, families, students, and staff. Tonight, South Huntington celebrates and honors all of our Teachers of the Year for their incredible skill, passion, and dedication. I would like to extend my warmest congratulatory wishes to all of our Teachers of the Year. Please join me in congratulating Oakwood's Teacher of the Year, Ms. Dina Groh. For those of you who don't know Dina, standing up here with all of this attention is definitely not an easy experience. Dina does not like attention. So to ease her nerves, I have brought one of her classroom stuffed animals to help her through. Dina is joined this evening by her fan club. Her parents, Virginia and Vincent, her children, Maddie and Sal, her sister, Joanne, and her nieces, Annalisa and Francesca. And of course, her Oakwood family. Now, Dina, we know how much you like New Kids on the Block, and they also send their congratulations to you. Dina shared with me that her grandfather was one of the driving forces in her education. He encouraged Dina to continue her education as much as she possibly could, making her the first in her family to receive a master's degree. I am sure he, too, is cheering you on this evening, Dina. Miss Groh's story began right here in South Huntington when she traveled the halls of our district schools and is a former Walt Whitman High School graduate. It is from Dina's experience as a student that she learned who she wanted to be as a teacher. Dina believes that students need teachers who are caring, compassionate, dedicated to their craft, and can make learning fun. Before teaching in South Huntington, Dina taught first grade at PS 140 in Queens, and then a private school in Lindenhurst. Fortunately for us in South Huntington, Dina joined our team here in the South Huntington family, and her caring ways and love for children quickly became noticed while she fulfilled leave replacements at Oakwood. In 2015, Dina was hired as a full-time kindergarten teacher at Oakwood. Miss Groh is a passionate and dedicated educator who believes in the power of being a champion for her students. Dina touches the lives of her kindergarten students each and every day. Miss Groh greets her students with a very loving good morning as soon as they walk in the door. When students are working through the lesson, Miss Groh will acknowledge her students' hard work by sweetly saying, "Kiss your brain." Room 115 is beaming with bright colors, positivity, teamwork, and quality learning experiences. In speaking with her students, they describe Miss Groh as the nicest teacher ever. One of the things that stood out to me was hearing the students say that in Miss Groh's class, it's okay to make a mistake. Miss Groh makes me feel good even when I make a mistake, and she makes me feel safe. It's this kind of love that allows students to take risks in their learning and keep trying, even if things are challenging. It takes a very special person to be a kindergarten teacher. In addition to being a loving educator and teaching important curriculum to young learners, there are a couple of unwritten prerequisites that are necessary as well. First, it is important to be able to have a quality singing voice. Dina can sing the directions to an activity in front of a class full of students, but as soon as an adult enters her room, Dina pauses and gives us her one-of-a-kind Dina giggle. Also, you must love using stuffed animals to deliver instruction. Dina's use of her favorite, Pete the Cat, and other stuffed animal characters is so creative. Miss Groh is a master at incorporating these characters to energize and excite her students in their writing or to participate during a lesson. Dina also knows that relationships matter. The rapport and connection she makes with her young learners and their families is magical. Miss Groh's students instantly connect with her and always want to be by her side. In fact, it's likely that you'll hear a few students call her mommy during a lesson. You can always find Dina in her classroom, well after the sun has gone down, where she is working on creating the perfect lesson, organizing her room, or preparing a perfect motivational element for the next day. Ms. Groh spends her summers preparing for the next year. She has a system where she creates a plan to have everything cut out for her students for the entire year before September. Ms. Groh is also a champion for her colleagues. Dina supports her colleagues by always being available for others. Even when she's ending her day on the way to her car, she is still sharing ideas in the parking lot. Dina serves as the math and science grade level coach, where she shares her instructional expertise with the Oakwood kindergarten team. In addition, Ms. Groh has supported Oakwood as a technology mentor, SBM committee member, instructional rounds team member, and new teacher mentor. With everything Dina does and undertakes, she does it with pride and with excellence. Dina is the quintessential kindergarten teacher. So much so that she is the only person who will put in all of her raffle tickets in the Pete the Cat basket instead of the basket for the Michael Kors bag. The sheer excitement that came from her winning that basket will always be remembered. Dina, tonight, we celebrate your dedication to the profession. Thank you for being you and being an inspiration to all. And just like Pete the Cat, you are groovy and rocking in your school shoes. Congratulations on being Oakwood Teacher of the Year.
Thank you, Dr. McKelly, and once again, congratulations, Ms. Groh. And now, I'd like to call to the podium our principal of Birchwood Intermediate School, Mr. Ciccarelli, and their Teacher of the Year, Ms. Jill Hewlett.
Dr. D'Elia, Mr. Ciapetta, Mrs. Carey, Board of Education, Cabinet, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce Mrs. Jill Hewlett as Birchwood's Teacher of the Year. This evening, Jill is joined by her dad, Ray, husband, Pete, brother, Stephen, sister-in-laws, Carrie and Margaret, nieces, Ella and Lena, and nephews Owen and Aiden. Thank you for coming. Tonight, I'm going to take you on a very special journey through the magical world of Jill Hewlett with a little touch of Disney. Once upon a time, a young teacher was told that she had to leave her current school and move to Birchwood. Just like Marlin in Finding Nemo, Jill was nervous and maybe a tad bit emotional to travel outside of the safety of the home she knew. She quickly found out that the blue seas at Birchwood were full of adventure and opportunity. She met a large variety of clownfish that would provide her years of laughter, love, and friendship. She even met one shark along the way, but I will mention him later. Jill might have been unsure at the start that Birchwood was the right place for her, but she jumped in feet first and started to make a name for herself all around the school. She joined a team of skilled Jedi in the reading room, where she uses her knowledge of the force to teach the minds of the young children at Birchwood. Armed, not with a lightsaber, but with a kind smile, an effervescent personality, exceptional teaching skills, and the ability to get children to believe in themselves. Jill is a difference maker. She makes sure that her students are nurtured both academically and emotionally. Watching the way she interacts with students around the school and during her lessons is truly magical. There is a special connection between her and her students. When we announced that Jill was Teacher of the Year, students and parents shared their thoughts about how Mrs. Hewlett changed their lives by turning reluctant readers into avid ones. Students went from feeling less than adequate around their classmates to striving and thriving in the classroom, all because of the compassion shown to them by Jill. To share an exact quote, Mrs. Hewlett changed my family's life. To be specific, my daughter's. She is the reason my daughter likes going to school for the first time in her life. With Mrs. Hewlett's help, she started reading and writing with confidence. I learned much from Mrs. Hewlett's compassion and pedagogy, and I will be forever grateful to and inspired by her. No Jedi mind tricks needed or Baby Yoda magic, just an amazing teacher who demands greatness from herself and refuses to give up on any student. Jill Hewlett is a big Disney fan. She loves Mickey and Minnie and all things Disney. If you have not noticed, Disney has its hands in everything. Movies, TV shows, amusement parks, clothing stores. They are the ultimate overachievers. Jill is one of Birchwood's overachievers. Jill has been an instructional rounds facilitator, Teacher Center Policy Board rep, technology mentor, Teacher Center instructor, soccer, lacrosse, and field hockey coach. I could mention so many more things that she does in Birchwood and around South Huntington, but I'm going to give you the rock and roller coaster version rather than the It's a Small World version. One role that Jill fills that is valuable to us at Birchwood is her role as a new teacher mentor. Just like Mickey Mouse is the leader of the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, Jill leads our new teachers from day one and continues to provide support and friendship well after they are new teachers. Our teachers could not have a better role model to follow. Her professionalism, school spirit, passion for the job, and love for children makes her someone we should all strive to emulate. However, there is one exception, Jill: the sweatpants. There are times when she seems to be more channeling Cinderella before she met the fairy godmother and got to go to the ball. But that's only when she coaches and has to leave at the end of the day. In every role Jill takes on, she goes to infinity and beyond. Not because she has to, but because she wants to see the Birchwood staff and students be their very best. Jill's special story continued when she met her husband Pete at Birchwood. I would have loved to use the Beauty and the Beast comparison to describe their relationship, but that Mr. Hewlett is way too cute for that. It just doesn't fit. So I'm forced to go with Jill being Anna to Pete's Kristoff, or maybe Lilo and Stitch, since they love to surf the waves of Long Island together. Mrs. Hewlett is an amazing teacher, an amazing colleague, and an amazing friend. She is someone I can always count on. Jill, things happen for a reason. You were meant to join our Birchwood family and help make Birchwood our own version of the happiest place on earth. I am sure Mom is looking down on you and is so proud of the incredible person you have become. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Ciccarelli, and congratulations, Ms. Hewlett. At this time, I'd like to call to the podium the principal of Maplewood Intermediate School, Mr. Hender, and their teacher of the year, Ms. Denise Ortiz.
Good evening, and thank you, Dr. D'Elia, Mr. Ciapetta, Mrs. Carey, members of the Board of Education, our administrative cabinet, and of course, all of our special guests this evening. It is my distinct honor and pleasure to present to you Maplewood's Teacher of the Year, Mrs. Denise Ortiz. Denise is currently a 4th grade teacher in our dual language program and has been part of the South Huntington family for the past 20 years. She is someone who is known in our building as hardworking, dedicated, and committed to providing the very best educational experience for all her students. Originally from Southern California, Mrs. Ortiz is a proud mother of 5 children to Catherine, Samuel, Gabriella, Raphael, Carlos, and is a grandmother to 4 wonderful grandchildren, Ezra, Godric, Octavia, and Emily. Most of the time when I come up here, or any one of my colleagues comes up, they talk about how that person was meant to be a teacher. They knew it very early in their life. Well, for Mrs. Ortiz, teaching found her. It wasn't something she was looking for as a profession. However, as you talk to her about the job she's taken, there was always an aspect of teaching involved. Whether it was a fitness choreographer, organizing the activities for churches, or helping kids participate in the Special Olympics, Denise always found a way to work with others to do their best. In fact, when she worked as a secretary for a church and was overheard talking in Spanish to help someone in the Head Start program, it was suggested that she go back to school to earn her teaching degree to become a bilingual teacher, which is what led Denise to the classroom and thankfully, eventually, to the South Huntington family. Constantly volunteering for whatever she can, Mrs. Ortiz is a teacher representative for the Maplewood PTA, where she informs and advises the school committee on the 4th grade curriculum and activities for the students. Mrs. Ortiz is often found volunteering her translation services to ensure that all students and families are receiving communication in their native language. The famous author John Steinbeck once said, "I have come to believe that a great teacher is a great artist, and that there are as few of them as there are other great artists. Teachers might even be the greatest of the artists, since the medium is the human mind and spirit." I think it's only fitting that in addition to being a talented teacher, Mrs. Ortiz is an artist at heart. You see, a few years ago, when the Maplewood site-based management team wanted to redesign the mural in our lobby, Mrs. Ortiz spent countless hours after school and on Saturdays bringing the design to life and providing a welcome entrance to our school and building. Now, there are numerous stories I could share of students who attribute their successes in life to the time spent with Mrs. Ortiz as a teacher. In fact, just before the holidays, a woman came to the school after dismissal to see Mrs. Ortiz and congratulate her on being Maplewood Teacher of the Year. I was fortunate to be standing in earshot during the conversation and was immediately impressed not only in the details and the memories the student provided, but also the way in which Mrs. Ortiz could recall the student. In my experience, most of those conversations begin with, "Do you remember me?" And then proceed with, "Of course I do. Remind me your name again, sweetie?" But not with Mrs. Ortiz. She greeted the student as if they had been in her class just last year, and then spent the next 30 minutes outside in the cold, catching up. When Mrs. Ortiz returned to the office, she mentioned she had not seen that student since she was a student of her own, and how much it meant that she had come back. One of her colleagues described Mrs. Ortiz by saying, "It's hard to get a full glimpse of her excellence because she uses all her spare time dedicated to lesson planning, creating lessons in 2 languages, meeting the needs of her struggling learners, supporting students who just need a stable adult in their life, and creating a warm environment where kids feel a sense of place and purpose. Yet, she will make time to have lunch with you or offer to help you or anyone else who is in need." Also, mentioned around the faculty room is the fact that Mrs. Ortiz welcomes any excuse to cook something for a festive event, which I was able to witness firsthand during my first month of school, and is probably why this suit no longer fits. When she came to me offering some empanadas. Mrs. Ortiz is often described by her colleagues as extremely humble, and I'm sure that is quite evident as she hides behind me and her current shade of red at this moment. In fact, the other day, when coming in from bus duty, Mrs. Ortiz turned to me and said, "Thank you for writing such nice things about me in my recommendation letter." To which I replied, "Of course, you deserved it." Her response was very simple. "I just don't look at myself like that." Well, here tonight, Mrs. Ortiz, I hope you take note of the many former and current colleagues and students at Maplewood who think you are someone very special. On behalf of all our students, staff, parents, and faculty of Maplewood Intermediate School, we thank you, Mrs. Ortiz, for all you do, and wish you congratulations on this prestigious honor.
Thank you, Mr. Hanger, and congratulations, Ms. Ortiz. Now it gives me great pleasure to introduce to the podium the principal of the Silas Wood 6th Grade Center, Mr. Toto, and their teacher of the year, Miss Kelly Zissel.
This is my 45-year-old gift right here. Good evening, Mrs. Ciapetta, members of the Board of Education, Dr. D'Elia, cabinet, colleagues, members of the South Huntington community, and of course, our Silas Wood families and our Silas Wood superstars. It is with great pleasure and pride that tonight we honor Mrs. Kelly Zissel as Silas Wood's Teacher of the Year. Kelly is joined this evening by her husband, Matt, her son, Connor, her daughter, Madison, who any of our superstars can thank her later because she donated the Gaga pit for recess time. Also supporting Kelly tonight are her mother and stepfather, Peggy and Bill, her father, Andy, and his partner, Virginia, her brother, Dan, and sister-in-law, Jamie. Mrs. Zissel graduated from Walt Whitman in 1994, has been a teacher in South Huntington for 23 years. Sorry. I'm wearing reading glasses, I can give away your age. That's not funny. She has taught at Birchwood and Countrywood, and for the past 5 years, I've been lucky enough to have her at Silas Wood. I have known Miss Zissel since I started my career here in South Huntington in 2002. She was one of the very first people to welcome me to Birchwood. So our first conversation kind of started with some wisecrack jokes about the ugly decorations in my rookie classroom, which some might view as constructive criticism, but I took as her brutal honesty. And from that moment on, we became good friends. Ms. Zissel embeds humor, laughter, and real-life experiences into all of her lessons. She has the capacity to reach learners of all levels and with varied strengths and learning styles. She's a leader who inspires, motivates, excites, and guides her students with understanding, compassion, and empathy. Mrs. Zissel engages her students through her creativity and talent, encouraging them to always do their best. She's a team player who collaborates with the entire English department to help make Silas Wood a positive learning environment. Ms. Zissel has been an active member of Silas Wood and in the South Huntington community. She consistently attends building and district functions such as Family Fun Night, Homecoming, and all of our Silas Wood dances. She's also a member of our Silas Wood SBM team, and for the first time this year, she's our co-advisor for our student council. So I'm just going to tell a quick story which kind of sums up what an amazing person she is. So picture this, spring of 2020, and we're in this pandemic, and I get a text from Mrs. Clark, because at this time birthday parades were the thing to do, and she invited me to Philip's, and I did ask Philip if I could use his name. She invited me to Philip's birthday parade, his car parade, so I said, of course I'll be there. And she said, can you do me a favor? Can you text Miss Zissel and can you invite her? That's Philip's favorite teacher. So I said, of course. So I texted Kelly and right away she said, absolutely, we'll meet up here and prepare ourselves for this parade. So we pull up, and I have never seen an excitement in a child that I saw in Philip. It went something like this. Oh my God, Miss Zissel, Miss Zissel. It was amazing. And that's really a true testament to the type of person that she is, the relationships that she builds with all of her students, and the compassion and love that she has for each and every one of them. So thank you, Philip, and thank you, Kelly. Interestingly enough, she texted me later and she asked me if I could react that way every time she walked in the building. I don't know. I tried it once, it was a little too much. So, in closing, Mrs. Zissel is an exceptional colleague, teacher, mother, wife, friend, and a true collaborator. And it is my honor to recognize her as Silas Wood's Teacher of the Year.
Thank you, Mr. Toto, and once again, congratulations, Ms. Zissel. And now, I'd like to call to the podium the principal of Stinson Middle School, Mr. Smith, and their Teacher of the Year, Ms. Jennifer Honer.
We love her too. Good evening, Dr. D'Elia, Cabinet, members of the Board of Education, community members, teachers, and families. Congratulations to all the teachers receiving recognition this evening. It is with pleasure that I introduce Stinson Middle School's Teacher of the Year, Ms. Jennifer Homer. Ms. Horner joined the South Huntington family as an English teacher in 1999, and our students have benefited from her passion for teaching ever since. Although she started here teaching over 2 decades ago, her connection to South Huntington runs much deeper, which I've noticed kind of a pattern here with some of the individuals in the audience and some getting recognition tonight. She's also a Whitman grad. Interesting enough, I also found her yearbook photo from Stimson. Well, you know, nobody is safe here, Kelly, so I'm going to do some research tomorrow in our library, and that goes for all you other graduates. Mr. Costa already has been victim to this, and we'll take a look. But behind every dedicated teacher is a family that supports them, and undoubtedly hears just a few stories about what happens at work. So we'd like to thank her husband, Kevin, son, Brendan, and daughter, Vanessa, for sharing her with us. Now, I will mention that Kevin's also a graduate, so I'll be looking for your photo tomorrow as well. When I think of Miss Honer, 2 things immediately pop into my head: kindness and parent-teacher conferences. I know, this is a weird combination, so I'll explain a little further. I'm not sure how Miss Honer does it. In a world that seems so easy to complain and get sucked into this vortex of negativity, there is Miss Honer, smiling her way through her day and seemingly exuding a natural love for everything around her. I can honestly say, in the 11 years I've had the pleasure to work with her, not once have I seen her waver from that. She seems to ride this comfy cloud of happiness. Perhaps this is what makes Mrs. Honer such a fabulous teacher: her ability to display authentic kindness and compassion when we all know deep down she works with middle school students and that's impossible. Now for parent-teacher conferences. Each year, as we know, Stimson Middle School hosts parent-teacher conferences. These 3-minute conferences are meant to provide parents with a quick snapshot of how their child is performing. The 3-minute conference is to Jen like kryptonite is to Superman. As the night ends and the building clears, there is Miss Honer, a line outside her door as she passionately explains all the details about one of her students to a set of parents inside her classroom. As we shifted to virtual conferences, I thought to myself, pre-assigned appointments and the ability to see a parent in the waiting room, this is a slam dunk for Miss Honer. Then the moment arrived. The phone rang, the call came through to my main office. Hello, Mr. Smith? Yes. I can't seem to enter the Google Meet with Mrs. Honer. I'm stuck in her waiting room. Immediately, in my heart, I knew this was not a technical issue. You see, the problem is this. The only issue that has to be addressed with Miss Honer is that she really does care way too much. That time is never, ever, ever going to be enough for her to spend with a parent talking about their child. 3 minutes will never be enough for her to convey how much she cares about the job she does each and every day. Her careful planning, preparation, and knowledge of what her students need is something that she can never rush. But Jen, like 4 minutes would be probably good. But in all seriousness, we are blessed to have you at Stimson. There's not a day that goes by that I don't see you in that hallway smiling. I'm sure it's a place next year that I will miss seeing you each and every morning when I walk through those doors. Your students are so fortunate to have such an amazing teacher that is so caring. You are so deserving of this recognition tonight. Congratulations, students.
Thank you, Mr. Smith, and congratulations again, Ms. Honer. And now, I'd like to call to the podium the principal of Walt Whitman High School, Mr. Costa, and their teacher of the year, Miss Gina Tanucci.
Unlike Mr. Smith, who has to bend down, I have to lower my microphone. Good evening, Dr. D'Elia, Mr. Ciafatta, Ms. Carey, members of the school board, the superintendent's cabinet, family, and friends. Please welcome me. Please join me in welcoming and congratulating Ms. Gina Tanucci as a Walt Whitman Teacher of the Year. Before I get into my speech, I just want to say that obviously many of you know that I haven't been here very long. I'm also an alum of Walt Whitman High School, and I did graduate with Horner back in 1990. But coming here back as a principal and meeting the staff on a different level, I can honestly say that one of the first people I've seen in the hallway, and I could just tell she has this infectious smile, was Ms. Tanucci. You know, you can tell by the cheeks, they go up, the eyes squint, and she says, "Hi!" Hi, and that was it. That was the moment of me meeting Ms. Tanucci in the hallway. So I did have to ask around, information about Ms. Tanucci because I don't have the history. And every single person that I asked, what is she like? What kind of person is she? Every staff member I ran across said, you could not have picked a better person to be our teacher of the year. Every single member puts a smile on their face in the same way that Ms. Tanucci greeted me with the eyes and the squint, guys, and a big smile. They said, she's amazing. The kindest, sweetest, most caring person you'll ever meet. And they could not think of a better person as a teacher this year. So congratulations, Ms. Tanucci. Now, Ms. Tanucci has worked in South Huntington for over 27 years. While mostly at Walt Whitman High School, her employment has found her at Oakwood and Silas Wood as well. She has taught in almost every visual arts course offered at the high school, from studio and art, to advertising design, to animation, to fashion, and has taught at the alternative school for over a decade. Outside the classroom, Ms. Tanucci has served as an advisor to the Lamplighter stage crew and founded and continues to advise the National Art Honor Society here at the high school. She has also been a mentor to new teachers, not only within her own department, but as a teacher within the district's new teacher training program. In addition, Ms. Tanucci has forged relationships with entities outside of the school to benefit her students, including, but not limited to, artists, sorry, I don't know my glasses. Can't read that. Artists of residence, thank you, Mr. Teller, I appreciate it. Artists in residence through BOCES, the Nassau County Museum of Art, the South Huntington Public Library, the Whitman Birthplace, and Heckscher Museum of Arts. While her competence in the arts and her complete control of her subject matter is proficient, her main focus is always on her students, not only those who intrinsically possess a love of art, but also those who struggle with self-confidence and find their way through the craft inspired by Ms. Tanucci's classroom. Always wearing a smile, Ms. Tanucci is a positive force within the school building. Her infectious energy positively affects students and staff alike. Her approachability and her ability to listen to make people feel safe, a character trait that has become so important in this most recent, very difficult and emotional time. In the words of one of her current colleagues, one of Gina's greatest strengths is her compassion for others and incredible patience. She is truly a leader who teachers look up to. Her enthusiasm motivates us all. I congratulate you and welcome Ms. Gina Tanucci. You know what? I just did one thing and I'm so sorry. I have to add to the speech. I get all excited when I come up here and tell my own little story. I forgot to mention that she is joined this evening, I believe this, by her mother, Gloria. Gloria, 91 years old, God bless her. The man of her dreams, John. Hey, John. Her brother, Joe. her sister-in-law Missy, and her lifelong friend who is like a sister, Dominique. So welcome. I apologize for the beginning. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Costa, and congratulations, Mr. Nucci. Before we continue, I'd just like to ask all of our teachers of the year not to leave when we're done with the ceremony, as we're going to invite everybody up to take pictures with the Board of Education. So, at this time, it gives me great pleasure to invite to the podium the principal of Countrywood Primary Center, Mr. Levy, and the Countrywood and South Huntington Teacher of the Year, Ms. Noreen Scaletti.
Dr. D'Elia, Mr. Ciapetta, Ms. Carey, board members, cabinet, colleagues, and friends. Before we get to talking about Noreen and all of the wonderful things she's accomplished, I'd first like to offer my congratulations to all of the teachers of the year from their respective schools. As has already been mentioned several times, it's the impressive group that is before you and out in the audience that works each and every day for all of our students in all of our 7 schools. It now gives me immense pleasure to speak to you this evening about Miss Noreen Scaletti, not only Countrywood's Teacher of the Year, but South Huntington's Teacher of the Year. This evening, Noreen is joined by her husband Ken and her daughters Samantha and Sarah, as well as her sister Tricia, numerous family, friends, and colleagues who are all here in support of this wonderful speech and language pathologist and all that she has accomplished. Noreen's a dog lover, and I'm sure if she was allowed, she would have brought her dogs, Oscar and Felix, tonight as well. I promise I'm going to keep my remarks short, because I know you really want to hear from Noreen and not from me. Noreen's been a speech and language pathologist in South Huntington since 2000, and prior to that worked for over a decade in BOCES. In speaking to her colleagues, they all described her qualities for being named Teacher of the Year as someone who is a mentor, a go-to person for colleagues and parents, a resource, and an advocate for the neediest students. They shared that she's been awarded 3 grants for the department, which has allowed them to receive specialized materials to better meet the needs of all of their students. Noreen likes to say that she's always looking for each child's $1 million. What makes them tick? What motivates them? Her colleagues go on to say that she is kind, caring, dedicated, and above all else, a strong advocate for her students and their needs. She works tirelessly with her students and their families to make sure they're receiving the most that they can out of their speech sessions. And she takes pride in celebrating the progress that they make while working with her. Noreen knows that success looks different for each and every student, and that they each progress at their own pace. In addition to the work during the school day, Ms. Scaletti also organizes and runs our after-school friendship project, providing social skills to students in our self-contained special education program. This is yet another example of her love and dedication to the students she serves and advocates for. In speaking to both former and current parents of her students, They all describe her in a similar fashion. Dedicated, receptive, an excellent clinician, and an accurate reader of their child's needs. They all pointed to Ms. Gillespie's parent communication as another area of strength. She maintains a speech notebook allowing the parents to know exactly what is being worked on, and also serves as a connection between home and school. As we all know, Noreen is a dog lover, and prior to COVID, she had arranged for Touch, a therapy dog, to make visits to our school. The program was a huge hit with our students, especially students in our self-contained program. Hopefully we'll be able to bring that back again real soon. As you can see, Ms. Gillespie has certainly left a lasting impression on numerous students and their families over her 20-plus years in South Huntington. She is well deserving of this wonderful award and recognition this evening. Congratulations, Noreen, on being named Countrywood's Teacher of the Year and South Huntington's Teacher of the Year. We can't think of a more deserving person for this wonderful honor.
Miss Gillespie just whispered in my ear and said that she did bring the dogs, and they've been hanging out in Mr. Costa's office for the last several hours. Miss Gillespie, congratulations.
Thank you, thank you. Good evening, Dr. Brewer, board members, administrators, family, friends, staff, colleagues, parents, and students. I am deeply honored, grateful, and humbled by this opportunity to accept the Teacher of the Year Award for both the Countrywood Primary School and the South Huntington Union Free School District. I also want to congratulate Gina Tanucci, Jennifer Honer, Kelly Zissel, Jill Hewlett, Dina Groh, and Denise Ortiz. I am proud to stand alongside you as we are all recognized here tonight. The magnitude of this award is tremendous for me and those in my field, especially when I think all I'm doing is a job that I love working with amazing students, parents, and staff on a daily basis. I am blessed and thankful beyond measure that I was selected to represent Countrywood and the South Huntington District. This award speaks volumes about the importance of communication for all students. My journey as a speech-language pathologist, /speech therapist, /speech teacher, / teacher of the speech, language, and hearing handicap began in 1987 when I was hired 2 days after college graduation to start with Western Suffolk BOCES, BOCES 3 as it used to be known, at the James E. Allen Learning Center, where I learned to work with children ages 5 to 21 years with various handicapping conditions that impacted their ability to communicate effectively. I worked there for 13 years, and in that time I was the first speech-language pathologist to be trained to work in their ABA program. I quickly learned new vocabulary such as reinforcers, discrete trial learning, data taking, picture symbols, prompting, and don't repeat the SD, whatever you do. The students all made progress, and the program was a huge success. Fast forward to June 2000. I was married 10 years by then. My husband Ken was also working for BOCES in a different building, and we had our 14-month-old daughter Samantha. I heard those dreaded words, "You are excessed," and found out my husband was also excessed. So we sat together at our BOCES excess meeting, wondering if we should go on the cruise that we just booked for our 10th wedding anniversary. We did go and made sure to eat enough to last us through the summer. Fortunately, he was hired back, but I was not. My luck soon changed when, after sending out a plethora of resumes, South Huntington called to schedule an interview with me. They were looking for somebody with ABA experience and/or bilingual. And despite my 9 years of Spanish, I was only able to meet 50% of their criteria. I remember being interviewed with many questions about my ABA experience by Dominique Harrington and Karen Siegel. And those who know, know. Thankfully, I was quickly hired. And I've been with South Huntington for the last 21 years and have truly enjoyed and learned so much. My passion for working with all children to improve their communication skills never wavers, thanks to the amazing staff and parents that I work with on a daily basis. Over the years, I have actually thought about what it is that speech pathologists do to teach communication, especially in our students where this is their greatest area of need. There seems to be a common thread. We need to find what motivates each child, their $1 million, to connect with them so that they are able to work on their communication skills. As I was thinking of what to write for the speech, I looked at all the labels that I'm often referred to, rearranged the letters, hoping to find something powerful, and the label Teacher of the Speech Language Hearing Handicapped, surprisingly, sparked the word connect. And I thought, yes, that's what I do every day, connect with students, their families, the staff I work with, and those who work with the students I teach. Especially during this pandemic era that we are now in, the word connect is even more meaningful and powerful. I have learned to connect behind a mask, teach sound production, communication skills, and learn new ways to teach speech and language to students who are also masked. I have connected with and relied heavily upon staff, family members, especially my daughter Sarah, and speech friends to figure out how to teach speech using Google Meet, sharing a screen, unmuting, learning about boom cards, and finding new ways to keep students engaged and motivated. And as we all know, the challenge was and continues to be real. I would like to finish up by thanking my parents for instilling in me the ability to work hard while staying true to the values I was raised with, my loving and supportive brothers, sister, and sister-in-law who are sadly not in the field of education and have to work summers and most holidays. My incredible brother-in-law, who thankfully is in education and fully appreciates the joy of snow days and delayed openings. My many amazing nieces and nephews, my loving husband Ken, two fantastic daughters, Sarah and Samantha, and all the amazing staff, students, and parents I work with in the South Huntington School District. Thank you all for this incredible award and for making the field of speech-language pathology so noteworthy.
Thank you, Mr. Levy, and congratulations once again on Teacher of the Year for South Huntington, Mr. Ortiz. And now, our closer for this championship evening, with concluding remarks, our Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Vito D'Elia.
Thank you, Dr. Senator. I think I'm going to hire you for my kid's birthday. He's awesome. Look forward to this each and every year, for many reasons. I did have a little speech prepared, but it repeats a lot of the great things that were said tonight. So I'm going to speak just real briefly from experience and from my heart. Years ago, when I was a teacher, I always remained one. When I left my first teaching position to go to administration, I was told by teachers, don't ever forget where you came from. And that has led me down the right path in many ways, because every day, whether it was assistant principal, assistant superintendent, and now in my new role as superintendent, I always lead with my decision-making as if I am a teacher. And that has guided me well, and I'm hoping it's guiding the district well. And I don't forget at all. I also live with one, that helps too sometimes. But the 7 of you, during these most challenging times, it's unbelievable to be recognized in a regular year, especially a speech teacher as a district teacher year, when that becomes super hard to try to read those facial expressions. It's amazing. All 7 of you, we are extremely proud of you. We want you to keep going back and making those positive contributions to our students each and every day. And for all the teachers in South Huntington, we thank you for everything you're doing and will continue to do. And to the 7 of you, congratulations, well deserved, and we're all proud. Thank you.
So once again, congratulations to our magnificent 7 for their tremendous honors tonight. So well deserved. And we are so blessed in South Huntington that we have over 500 outstanding teachers and another 500 outstanding support staff on top of that. The best students in the world, the most outstanding and supportive community as well. At this time, we're going to take a brief recess to allow for photographs, and I'm going to ask that our Teachers of the Year please join us with our Board of Education. Thank you everyone very much.
To our business agenda. Once again, thank you to all involved in putting together the Board of Education Teacher Recognition of the Year ceremony. It was a beautiful ceremony. Even the benefits in the program were beautiful and very fitting. It was inspiring once again to be in public. All right, moving on to the agenda. Do we have a motion to adopt the agenda? Motion by Mr. Bronson, second by Mr. Joyner. Any questions on the agenda? All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Items C through F, the minutes, financial items, and bills require one resolution for adoption. Is there a motion? Motion by Mr. Joyner, seconded by Mr. Bronson. Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? All right. We do have our full complement of board members. Ms. LaCarra is virtual, joining us as such, as permitted. Okay, moving on to section H of the agenda, communications. We have a letter from District Special Education teacher Gail Shapiro that she would like to read to the Board of Education. Ms. Shapiro, come on up. You can use the podium so we can hear you.
Good evening, Dr. Delia and the Board of Education. Good evening, Dr. Delia and the Board of Education. It's with my sincere gratitude that I share my plans to retire at the end of 2020 school year. I've been working as a special education teacher since January of 1986, and although I'm pleased about my upcoming retirement, I feel a little bit of trepidation in the heavy part about leaving this career and district that I have loved so much. Throughout my career at South Huntington, I have served in many different capacities as a special education teacher at Maplewood and also for a short time at Countrywood. For more than half of my career, I've had the pleasure of teaching in a self-contained setting. In addition, I've had the opportunities to teach at both an integrated co-teacher and a resource room. While the job has been challenging at times, watching my students gain confidence and abilities has brought joy to my heart. Through all these positions, it has been my deepest privilege and honor to educate and connect with my students and their families for over 35 years. During my time at South Huntington, I've been able to work with hundreds of students. I've seen my students go on and graduate high school, have families of their own, and have their children come through the district and in my classroom. I I've served this community providing not only educational support to my students, but also guidance through emotional and social support. During my career, I have strived to increase students' self-esteem and faith in their ability to succeed. I'm proud to say that I'm also a product of this school system that has produced so many talented individuals. I'm honored to both begin and end my career as a self-contained special ed teacher at Maplewood. My greatest achievement has been the successes of my students. Coming to this decision to retire at the end of this year has not been easy for me, but I'm pleased that I'll be able to pursue some of my other dreams. I'll be able to travel and spend more time with my family and friends. I would like to sincerely thank the district for providing me the opportunity to teach for these years. I would specifically like to thank many of my former principals, especially Dr. Steele, Dr. D'Elia, Mr. Harrington, and Mr. Link, who have always been supportive during their time as my principal. Additionally, I would also like to thank all of my former administrators in the special education, including but not limited to Dr. Cribichet and Mrs. Smith. During my time at Maplewood, I have not only found purpose in supporting students and watching them grow, but I've also been fortunate to build long-standing friendships with colleagues and families. I consider Maplewood to be an extended family, and this has contributed to my career being rewarding and unforgettable. I would like to thank all of my colleagues and friends for being there for me. I am leaving my position at Maplewood feeling both fulfilled and confident that future students will be well supported. Thank you for everything that you do for the children of this community. I plan to remain in the area following my retirement, and just as you have supported me throughout all these years, please feel free to let me help you and support you as children of the community. Thank you.
Shapiro, thank you so much for your 35 years, and thank you for sharing that letter with us. It's beautiful, and it was so nice to have you read that. Thank you for everything. Congratulations and good luck. All right, moving on to new business. New business item number 1 is a second amendment to our contract of sale with Dina Properties LLC for the South Huntington Central Field. The motion, Mr. Bronson, second. Mr. Joyner. Dr. Seymour, can you tell us what the nature of this amendment is?
Sure. This is the amendment to the agreement of sale for Central Field. It addresses some questions that come up regarding a certain parcel of the property, as well as some adjustments requested by the district. Once the board approves this second amendment, our council will then confer with theirs, see if there are any outstanding items, especially anything relating to title, and then we'll be very close to being ready for the property proposition.
And do you think that this would be ready for the May meeting, May vote?
Barring any surprises, yes.
So just to recap to the community, the district over the last couple of years has been endeavoring to sell certain unused and unnecessary properties, and one of those properties includes land at Central Field, which is behind Staples in the 33 building. It was used for many years for the girls softball. Now they relocated, so the district really has no use for it. It's surplus land, and we would sell it and use it for other improvements in the district. Does the board have any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. New business item number 1 is approved. New business item number 2 is the amendment of a board policy, number 1511. Is there a motion? Mr. Joyner, seconded by Mr. Bronson. Mr. Bronson, can you tell us about this change?
Thank you, Mr. Ciapetta. So the policy change is basically 2 amendments to the agenda format. One is adding specifically comments by the superintendent, as well as adding comments by our student board member. So there were 2 changes that were added. It was reviewed and approved by the policy committee. It was then distributed to amongst our constituents, who also approved it, and it's now ready for the board's approval.
Thank you, Mr. Bronson, for your review as chair of the policy committee. Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? Very good. Moving on to new business. Thank you, Mr. Bronson, again. Moving on to new business item number 3 is the termination of an agreement. Is there a motion? Mr. Joyner, seconded by Mr. Bronson and Ms. Meyer. Ms. Perpillo, can you tell us about the nature of this contract termination?
Sure. The reason for the early termination is due
to the inconsistent delivery of by providers that were employed by a specific contract agency, and that were impacting the delivery of services at one of our district schools. And for the board to be able to review the resolution to terminate the contract prematurely before June 30th, 2022.
Thank you. This matter was discussed further with the Board of Education in executive session. Are there any other further questions? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, motion is unanimous. Moving on to new business, item number 4 is the approval of certain out-of-state field trips for the Woburn High School Winter Guard. Motion. Mr. Jordan, seconded by Ms. Meyer and Mr. Bronson. Dr. Murphy.
Yes, this is a permission for a number of trips, day trips out to mostly New Jersey, one to Pennsylvania for our Winter Guard. It's for competition based. All competitions for the Winter Guard are out of state, mainly in New Jersey. So it's just giving permission to do so.
And does this cover the rest of the season?
Yes, this covers the rest of the season. Their season ends, and pretty much when this ends is when marching band picks back up.
Okay, and this includes the early January one that we're approving now, correct?
Yes.
Board, have any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, moving on to new business item number 5 is another out-of-state trip. Motion. Ms. Bronson, seconded by Ms. Meyer. Dr. Murphy.
Yes, this is an out-of-state field trip to MetLife Stadium for a newly created girls flag football team. It's being sponsored by the New York Jets. It's one of our student representatives and David Barth, our athletic director, are going to be going there to learn more about the program and to see what other things that we'll be receiving from the Jet, not only the Jets, but how the season will look and making decisions based on that.
Cool. Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Moving on to new business item number 7. 6, excuse me, sorry. Is the approval of a grant agreement from the New York Jets. Is there a motion? Mr. Joyner, seconded by Mr. Bronson and Ms. Meyer. Dr. Murphy.
Yes, as previously mentioned, the MetLife trip for the girls flag football team, this is just this is $5,000 that was given by the Jets to support and fund that team, support and fund the Walt Whitman flag football team.
All in favor? Any opposed? The New York Jets have been very good to us this year, as previously in the year Robin Rosa was named the Jets Coach of the Week, so we're having a nice relationship.
Wins.
I don't know about that. You can't ask him too much. Moving on to new business item number 7 is the approval of data and privacy agreement between the South Huntington School District and Tex Help Inc. Also, Quake LO. Motion to discuss. Mr. Joyner, seconded by Mr. Bronson. Dr. Murphy, your favorite.
Yes, so this is just another privacy agreement, Equate.io. It's a math program that allows them to create math formulas and equations utilizing the Google Classroom. So it's just, and they've signed the agreement not to sell our student data.
All in favor? Any opposed? Moving on to new business item number 8, resolution for unit ventilators at Walton High School, the Silas Wood 6th grade center. Motion. Mr. Bronson, seconded by Ms. Meyer. Dr. Senimore.
Thank you, Mr. Ciapetta. So through the American Rescue Plan funds at Silas Wood as well as Walt Whitman High School, the unit ventilators will be replaced. The Board of Education previously approved the SECRA, and New York State Ed Department requires this formal resolution to provide the permit for the work to be performed.
And when would the work be expected to be performed?
That is when we think we'll be able to start.
Okay. Good. Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. This is very significant upgrade to our buildings. These unit ventilators are old and costly, and very fortunate to be able to replace them. There's some glasses under the chair there. I don't know if somebody left them or not. Moving on to new business item number 9. approval of SHTA sick bank request. Motion? Mr. Joyner, seconded by Mr. Bronson. And this is the approval of, from time to time, there might be a need for a certain staff member may be short of sick days, and there might be a request from the SHTA for the unit to donate sick days to another member. And this is such a request. This was discussed in exec session. Obviously, the matter is confidential. Anything else, Dr. Summer, to add?
No, yes. Discussed in detail in exec session.
Any questions by the board? All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Good. Moving on to new business, item number 10 is the approval of a donation. Is there a motion? Mr. Bronson, seconded by Ms. Meyer. This is an anonymous donation, a very generous donation in the amount of $3,000, and the donation is intended to offset the cost of championship football rings that are being purchased for each member of the varsity football team. Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? Excellent, thank you. Moving on to new business item number 11. Recommendations for the placement of students by the Committee on Special Education, dates listed October, November, January, and Committee on Preschool Special Education, dates listed October, November, December, and January of this year. Motion. Mr. Bronson. Second by Mr. Joyner. All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Moving on to item number 12. This does not require a resolution. It is rather a matter for the board's discussion. It's a follow-up. Just to explain, as you know, a longtime district trustee, Board of Education member, Mr. Edward Nickowitz, resigned in December after many years, creating a vacancy on the Board of Education. So rather than 7, there's now 6 of us. And Mr. Nickowitz still had another 2.5 years remaining on his term. So when there's a vacancy on the Board of Education, the education law provides for a number of options. One option would be to hold a special election to fill the seat at the earliest convenience. Second option would be for the Board of Education to appoint somebody to fill the vacancy until the next election, or the third would just be to have the seat remain vacant until it could be filled at the next election. And if that was the case, then it would be filled at the next Board of Education election, which would be in May, and whoever won that seat would serve for the remainder of Mr. Nickowitz's term. So normally Board of Education term is 3 years, but if you were to succeed in getting that seat, you would serve 2 years. So it's really a discussion as to how the Board of Education wants to proceed, whether to hold a special election, to keep the seat vacant until the May election, or to appoint someone to fill the seat temporarily. Any thoughts? Mr. Watson?
Yeah, I guess my thought is I'd probably leave the seat vacant until the election. I don't see the rationale for having costs and expenses added as far as holding a special election, and as far as appointment, I'm certainly open to other board members' points of views. I don't know, frankly, if they sit here today, who I would appoint or feel the need necessary to appoint with the election just coming up in May, which is less than 5 months away at this point.
Any other thoughts? Any contrary opinions? Is it the consensus of the board then to seat vacant until May? All right. So it's the consensus of the board. The seat will remain vacant until May. Thank you. Okay, moving on to our next item of business, personnel. We have personnel schedules 3, 5, 9, 11, 13, 15, 16, 20, and 22. Is there a motion? Motion. Mr. Bronson, seconded by Ms. Meyer. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, personnel schedules are adopted. Information and reports are listed. And we have committee reports. Curriculum Council met on January 11th. Is there any report, Mrs. Carey?
Yes. We had an extensive meeting in January discussing a variety of topics that we delved into current methods being utilized to support the district's academic recovery plan. This meeting allowed the curriculum council to get a sense of what is being accomplished in each building. And Dr. Murphy, can you provide a little more detail on what we were talking about?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
One of the biggest things we've been talking about is the academic recovery plan. We were talking about our goals meetings that we've been holding with each building and how we're utilizing that data. That was a big portion of our meeting. It's one of the most important things to make sure what we're doing in the classroom and also the support we're giving outside of the classroom is working, and that was the extent of that, and then also some scheduling points that we had in the curriculum. I mean, those were the two biggest topics.
Thank you, Dr. Murphy. Thank you, Vice President Carey. Okay, future meetings are listed. February 16th, we will be meeting back at the James Cade Administrative Offices. That will begin our budget process. The budget process continues on March 9th, March 23rd, April 12th when we adopt the budget, and May 10th when there is a public hearing on the budget, and then May 17th when the budget is voted on. Comments by board members? Mr. Conley, anything you'd like to add? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, first I'd like to say it was great to be here for such a unique night. It was very special to see all the teachers out, and especially after the past few years that we've had, it was great to honor a lot of people that have worked very hard over the past, really, 2 years throughout this pandemic. I really have not much to report from Maplewood High School, since given the recency of the last meeting we had. Right now, we're through a very busy 2 weeks of midterms and closing up the second quarter. So it's been a very, very busy couple weeks for students in general. So right now, I'm just looking forward to creating a stronger connection between the board, myself, and the general student body. And that's the thing I'm focused on going forward until February break.
Great, thank you. Other comments by the board members? Just want to briefly congratulate, we've had a good academic year and a good athletic year. Another athletic accomplishment, Chris Rinaldi, a 9th grader, he bowled a perfect game last week. So that was very cool to see. Congratulations to Chris. We will comment by our superintendent and voice of the residents. Dr. D'Elia?
Yes, just real quickly, I'd like to thank the community's patience and understanding with the rescheduling of some events that we had in the first 3 weeks of January, which will make for some very fun-filled events to take place between next week into the February break. So thank you for your patience and understanding, and we didn't cancel anything, we just did a little rescheduling, and looking forward to all of these events. Thank you.
All right, moving on to our next and last portion of the meeting. It's Voice of the Residents, opportunity for the community to address the Board of Education. Anyone like to address the Board of Education? Yes, sir. We have looks like two people. Come please address the Board of Education. You can take the podium there. Please mention your name and address, just to be sure are you a district resident? Yeah. Okay, thank you. Good evening.
I know this week was a bit of a surprise in terms of the mask mandate revision and then stay. So I was just looking for the board to comment a little bit about.
Sorry, did you say your name?
Davian, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, just slower because our district clerk hasn't taken it down. So the first name was?
David.
David.
Ewan.
Yes.
West 22nd Street. So I'm just looking for the board to comment on this week's activities. I know it was a bit of a surprise for many of us, and really do appreciate the communication that was done. I'm sure it was a late night for you, Dr. D'Elia, so appreciate that. But I think one of the things that is on my mind in regards to what transpired this week is really just as we're kind of getting to a point in time in the pandemic where potentially masks will not be a requirement. I do think there's a dynamic of some students who will want to wear masks, some who will not, and potentially, some sort of challenge I think that we'll have with peer pressure and bullying and comments from peers. So I know that's not a reality just yet, but I think Tuesday was a bit of an eye-opener, at least for me. So I'm just curious from the board's perspective if there's any discussions ongoing. Again, I know it's not necessarily reality just yet, but it seems like there's a potential around the corner
So I'm just wondering if there's any plans or further discussions on that topic at this moment in time.
I don't know if there's any discussions yet at this point. Obviously, the board keeps abreast of all these developments, which happen quickly and change quickly, and we had certainly discussions earlier this week as we were trying to react to late-breaking news. In terms of what you mentioned, I think you're right. I think we'll see in the not too near future the mask mandate will go away because the governor has indicated as such, and indicated that when the statewide mandate lapses, so will the requirement for masks in schools. We don't know whether that will be in February, whether it'll be extended or not, and certainly we don't even know what's going to happen with this court case, which picks up tomorrow. But you're right, it seems in the near future masks will not be required, I'm sure. And then, they would always, of course, every student has the option to wear them. And like everything else in our district, we're an inclusive district, and we always want to make it safe for our students to feel comfortable and to protect themselves and protect their health and do what they feel is necessary for them. So, we're a district that is very strong in enforcing dignity with all students and preventing bullying, and that would remain the same whether it's a mask issue or something else. Over the summer, actually, we had some experience with it, so it's a good example. Over the summer, in summer school, it was optional, and we saw a lot of kids did choose to wear the masks, probably the overwhelming majority. So that might well be the case again in the near future, and we'll support those students' choice one way or the other. Well, thank you. Thank you for addressing the board. Sir, did you want to address the board?
Yeah, please.
Okay.
Thanks for letting me speak. My name is Raj Chetty. Sorry. My name is Raj, R-A-J, Chetty. C-H-E-T-T-Y. I live on Brayley, just across the street from here. So I came because I'm a little bit concerned. I already spoke with Dr. Dalia yesterday. On two issues, this is really the same. The masks, and I know at the state level, national level, it's all sort of really in flux in many ways. Two things that I just wanted to express by way of concern. So 11 p.m. is when the message came out. I didn't see it that night. My children came to school. My mother, who is elderly, lives with us, and so I immediately went and picked them all up, which was really an inconvenience for me. But it was because I found out from my son, who was here, hey, no one's wearing masks anymore, and I didn't know what was going on. Some of that is I understand the messaging came from the state late, or from the court, and then, but having heard that other districts decided to wait before moving forward, because they understood that there was going to be a process, sort of an appeals process, and perhaps a change back, as we've now seen. I guess I wonder why this sort of rushed and late night decision that affects really the way parents like myself and those of us who have elderly and or immunocompromised people at home that had to sort of really navigate that. So I understand it from the student standpoint, sort of the lower, what's the word I'm looking for? Less severity, especially vaccinated. But because students go to homes, that's where my deep concern is here. I also sort of saw today and wanted to read really quickly. This came from the New York State chapter of the American Academy of Pediatrics, the Long Island chapter, I'm sorry. It says that they represent 1,500 pediatricians across the region, and they continue to recommend in the strongest possible terms that masking for children in schools continue in a manner consistent with guidance from the CDC and prevention of the CDCP. There are almost 100 studies which demonstrate the ability of proper masking to reduce the impact of airborne diseases, and 18 major studies which specifically show the effectiveness of masking in mitigating COVID. They specifically cite the 7-day positivity rate across Long Island of 11 to 12%, and a case rate of over the same period of about 100 per 100,000. So they're flagging the transmission potential is high. And then specifically mentioned that completed vaccination rates for children 5 to 11 remains only 17 to 27%. So they acknowledge, here I'm still quoting, there will come a time when masking in schools and other indoor facilities is no longer required, but that time should be determined by physicians and public health experts and not by judges. So I say that again to just sort of express the concern with how both the decision was made and the way it was communicated to sort of lay that out. Thanks.
Yeah, I'll address a piece of that, and then I'll turn it over to Dr. Delia, who can provide some more light on that. I mean, it was a dynamic day, and we were addressing things in real time. The court decision came out after hours, and I know Dr. Delia was working hard to decipher it. And you know, as an attorney, I can tell you it was challenging to understand the import of the decision itself. It had to be determined, was it just impacting Nassau County alone, or did it apply statewide? That was one question that had to be determined and had to be discussed with district council. Another question was, is there an automatic stay? In other words, if by filing an appeal itself, whether that automatically stayed the court's ruling. There was, we had to answer that question. There was differences of opinion on that as well as what would be required to obtain the automatic stay. Some districts put out something very soon, early in the day, as soon as it came out. Our goal is never to be first, it's to be right and to make sure that we put out the right information, because some districts put out wrong information and then had to reverse themselves and then subsequently reverse themselves again. So, you know, I think that we put out one message which was consistent. It was late, no doubt about it, but it was necessary in order for Dr. Tillier to discuss with district council, to discuss with the building principals, and to discuss with the Board of Education. So that was kind of why. And really the thought process among leadership was, we always follow the law. So at that point in time, based on the advice of legal counsel, the second that the court ruled the mask mandate was no longer in effect, we could not require masks the next day, because the court enjoined the mask mandate and enforcement of such. So we had no ability to tell people they must wear masks on that Tuesday. And then once the stay came in place later on that day, we once again consistently with our practice followed the law, because then the mask mandate was back in place, and as an agent of the state we're required to enforce the law. I mean, obviously this is not ideal to have masks on Monday, no masks on Tuesday, and then masks back on Wednesday, but it was really out of our control, and it might be a situation where a decision comes in Friday where the masks are off again. So we're going to, as we have at the beginning of this process, the Board of Education has decided that, you know, we're not going to make this into political theater. We're going to follow the law, and whatever the law says, we're going to do. Dr. Leah?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Seifert. I think you covered a lot of it, but, you know, from Monday evening, I believe around 4:30, I received a text message, and first off, we were verifying if this was real. And then, you know, that had taken some time. Back and forth with the attorneys, and one of the biggest issues that we dealt with Monday night and into Tuesday was that there was difference of opinion amongst the two big law firms. And which way, is it enforceable? Can we enforce masks, or can we not enforce masks? And I think what was interpreted by some, not by our law firm, and I have to give them credit because they were right on with their advice and counsel to us, that some districts were confused as to when the appeal was put in place, they thought the automatic stay went right in with it late Monday night. It did not, obviously. It went in on, it was accepted in on Tuesday, about 5 o'clock. The judge made a decision. So when, you know, we talk about, hey, I definitely do not want to put messages out at 10:45, 11 o'clock at night. But I can tell you, we were working super actively between 5 and 11 to get out information and to be accurate with our information. And going into Tuesday, we were accurate that the masks were not enforceable on Tuesday. There's a court ruling. And we have to, and I know there was chatter about the commissioner put out a letter. Shouldn't we listen to the commissioner? The law supersedes the commissioner. And we won't, trust me, I don't want to be a superintendent and say we're not going to listen to our state education commissioner. But that's how challenging this was on Monday night. Nothing like I ever faced before in 25 years of education. I'm going to be very honest with you. And we made the right decision, and we followed the law. And that's our guidance moving forward.
Thank you, Dr. D'Elia, and thank you to Mr. Yoon and Mr. Chetty for addressing the Board of Education. This is obviously an issue of great public debate and discourse, and it's been discussed in this district as well as others, and we appreciate your commentary and addressing the Board of Education. It's a vital function of this meeting, and it's good to have feedback, so thank you. Anyone else? Any other residents? Okay. With that, I will take a motion to adjourn the meeting. Mr. Bronson, seconded by Ms. Meyer. All in favor?